Tuesday edition, Tuesday, August 11th, right? Yeah, August 11th. I'm losing track of time here with the crazy summer we're having. No NFL preseason, but of course we got NBA regular season and playoffs right around the corner. Major League Baseball going as well. And this is NBA tip-off for Tuesday, August 11th, and we're live at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, here on WagerTalk TV. And I'm joined today by Rob Vino from WagerTalk.com. Rob, I'll bring you in and ask you how you did last night, and remind the viewers there's also $2 Tuesday going on at WagerTalk.com. And I know last week, Rob, you were the featured $2 capper. And, of course, I piggybacked on your play with my 5% winner last week in the NBA. So it was a nice Tuesday last week. How you doing, Rob? And what did you have last night?
Good afternoon, Steve. Yesterday we had a 4% Major League Baseball best bet winner and a split in the NBA capped off by the late winner, which is always good when you win the last game, right, Steve? Because that's the one everybody chases with. Denver and the LA Lakers up and over the total. Wasn't really that difficult to get there. Denver again, not all that much defense. LA a little bit better on the offensive end last night. But boy, Denver does show you that with their complement of players, and we'll wait for Gary Harris to get back and Will Barton. But boy, oh boy, they have options upon options upon options now that Michael Porter Jr. has added to that list of options. They were difficult for the Lakers to stop, defend at any point last night. So Denver could be a sneaky team in these playoffs for sure.
Yeah, and, we're in the final week here, of course, of the regular season, and we're going to have a lot of guys sitting, a lot of teams that are kind of mailing it in. So I use that NFL preseason reference again. I'll bring in Teddy Covers. Teddy, I know you're on a red-hot run in the NBA, 6-1, I believe. And I have a feeling you and I were on the same side last night with our best bet. I had the Miami Heat. Was that the same side you were on?
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty easy. A pretty easy second half with Miami. I had a loser last night as well. Unfortunately, I laid the Milwaukee side against Toronto, knowing that Toronto wasn't going to play key guys, and they didn't play key guys, and we're still better than Milwaukee. Which, And I want to ask you guys, how much are we worried about the Bucks and the Lakers right now, in general? Because I came in thinking, well, all right, it may take them a little while to get going, and maybe the intensity in there because they're already clinched. Neither the Bucks or the Lakers look like championship teams right now. Is that just where we're at, or do you think that there's something real to that?
Yeah, Tony, I'll throw it to you. I mean, I said yesterday, for me, the Laker game against Sacramento this Thursday, if I was the head coach, would kind of be my let's fine-tune things as we head into the playoff game. They won by 3 last night. They failed to cover as a 5-point favorite. What do you think, Tony, at least like on the Lakers, I guess?
I'm concerned. If you're asking me as a fan, as a guy that wants to see the best teams win, in most situations, I'm very concerned about the Lakers more than I am the Bucks, although there is concern there, Teddy, as well. My concern with the Lakers should be everybody's concern. It should be the Lakers' concern, and that is that this team doesn't have a third option, and most importantly, they have no one to handle a basketball if LeBron's not on the floor, and he can't be on the floor for 48 minutes of 7-game series from next week until the finals, if in fact they get that far. I've had people tell me, no, Anthony Davis can handle the ball. That's Hakeem. Who told us that was
Ski Prophet.
Ski Prophet, and I said, really? I think that's the night I said that I dress up like a girl on Saturday nights. That doesn't make me a girl. Just because he can dribble a basketball doesn't make him the point guard of this team. That's my concern, Teddy. It really is the ball handling.
Yeah, I'm not sure you want your center bringing the ball up in crunch situations in the NBA postseason. Rob Vino, what are your thoughts on the Bucks and the Lakers, who are the obvious one seeds? Really didn't have to do much here on these play-in games or this restart bubble. They basically locked up the 1 seed when it began, but I do think there's some concern, complacency can carry over initially.
I think there has to be, Steve. I mean, we're late in the process now, right? This thing is winding down. There's only 1 or 2 games left in this bubble action, this 8-game stretch. And for either of those teams that was looking to build cohesiveness, I don't see it built yet. I think the Lakers were really hurt by the opt-outs. I mean, Avery Bradley would have been a great guy to have as far as ball handling is concerned. Trevor Ariza would have been a nice guy to have. Losing Rajon Rondo to injury. I mean, they had some things go against them. And just because, like Tony says, Anthony Davis was a point guard when he was 6'2", and doesn't mean he's a point guard at 6'11" or 7 foot. So I think I said it yesterday. If the Lakers end up going deep in multiple series and LeBron has to shoulder that entire load. I mean, last night we saw LeBron blocking shots, doing an awful lot last night. And if he has to do that in series to win games, 124, 121, like just pulling them out at the end, I don't think they're going to make it, Steve. I think that they'll come up short. Anthony Davis helped out last night, but Tony's right, no third option. As far as the Bucks are concerned, although, Kyle Kuzma showed up a little bit last night, especially with the game ender. The Bucks haven't played any defense, guys, and that's where my worry would begin. How was this team the number one defensive efficiency team the whole way through until the break? And 3 games ago, their head coach says, okay, now we're whole again. You're going to start seeing a different team. We're going to look more normal. They've looked as abnormal as they looked in the beginning of this 8-game stretch. So, Teddy said, hit it correctly. Toronto rests guys last night, and still Toronto's able to score fairly easily on the Bucks. We'll see what happens tonight. Of course, the Bucks are resting an entire starting unit almost tonight if Giannis doesn't play. I would have concern on both sides, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Milwaukee's got 2 games left, but they've lost back-to-back now with 2 remaining. Lakers have 1 remaining. Raptors are now just 3.5 behind, so they can't get the 1 seed, but they've gone 5-1. They definitely have closed that gap, and we've said all along they seem like a team on a mission. They play great defense. Hard to imagine that won't carry over to the postseason for Toronto. Hey, guys, we have 2 games in action, as we often do, but one of them is actually at halftime right now, so let's touch on that one here for some viewers that are watching us live. Of course, we're live every weekday, Monday through Friday, 3 Eastern. It's one of the main reasons to turn in live is we do have in-games going on here. We have a halftime right now. The Spurs, the hell yes Spurs, are up by 17 over the Rockets at halftime. Teddy, I'll start with you. Anything here? The line has just popped now for the second half. San Antonio, 3.5-point favorite despite being up by 17 for the second half.
No. Houston's a 3.5-point favorite.
Okay, that's the wrong line. And I'm looking at a live feed here. They've got it reversed.
Yeah,
sure? Because I'm seeing it on 2
I'm
of
sure
them.
I'm seeing it in multiple books. 3.5.
Yeah, I would say that would make absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
I was going to say it made no sense to me why they'd be a favorite up by 17. But any thoughts, Teddy?
Well, I have my only NBA today for the clients was San Antonio. I wanted a big ticket, and unfortunately, we couldn't get it before the line move. I didn't feel right big ticketing it after the line move. Nonetheless, I thought it was still a good play. So far, so good. I'm not going to hedge. I'm just going to hold my Spurs right now at halftime and hope for the best. But first half, so far, so good with that game.
Yeah, Tony Finn. Spurs have obviously outperformed. We've talked about it several times on the show here. I mean, obviously, this is not a playoff caliber game here. The Rockets don't have anything to play for. But any thoughts on this one at halftime? Spurs up by 17. Right now, 115 points scored in the game. What was the opening? What was the total on this one going in, like 220 something, I believe?
Yeah.
Yes. 220.
No, even higher, right, guys? Wasn't it close to 240 this game, like a 239 or something?
No.
Yeah, I think this was a 220 range, maybe. I wasn't involved in this early game. No, I'm sorry, my bad. It was 239.5, I think. So
Was it?
right.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, the
Rob,
Nets
you're
Magic
so
was 224.5. I was thinking the other daytime game. Yeah, so Spurs were minus 4, 239.5. So it's well under the total right now, and the Spurs are covering easy. Tony, anything here at halftime?
No. Teddy made a great play. It was a good call. It's a good spot for them. I still think that they're the better team in the second half. The Rockets, they don't care to be here. Why wouldn't you be? Either you sit on what you have right now, or you press the action, push in and again on the Spurs.
Yeah, Rob Vino, anything on this game going in here right now? Spurs up by 17. They went off minus 4, and they are crushing them. They're playing hard basketball, and I guess they're fighting for that play-in spot. By the way, it is Houston minus 3.5. It's funny because I'm looking at some feeds here, and they're all saying Spurs, which is obviously wrong, but I'm looking at a live book right now. It is Houston minus 3.5, 118.5 for the second half. So that would make the adjusted total now in the low 230 range, so a little bit under the 239.5.
I thought it was 229.5.
I thought so. I thought it was 20, but I didn't
239.
pay much attention to it. So
I'm looking here. It said open 233, close 239.5.
It did. Yeah.
Okay. I believe Vino.
Yeah, so
I
actually,
wouldn't lie to you, Teddy.
what's interesting, Rob, is that if the adjusted game total right now, I believe, is right around the opener at 233, and it's steamed up about 6 points. So do you see anything in this one at the half?
I don't. I'd like to be sitting where Teddy's sitting right now. That's a solid play on San Antonio for the game. It's interesting, guys. Those 4 teams that are fighting for that final playoff spot in the West, you have to do what San Antonio's doing right now. You have to take advantage of scheduling that might work your way and coaches' decisions that might work your way. For Houston, a good chunk of offense out today. Derek White available to play for San Antonio, a game that's winnable. Boom, you got to win that game. For the Phoenix Suns, a Philadelphia 76er lineup that's in disarray. Got to win that game. But the other 2 teams involved, right, for Portland, it doesn't really break their way. Luka and Kristaps coming back tonight for Dallas. They'll have to play a full complement. And for Memphis, they'll have to play the Boston Celtics, who aren't really resting guys here tonight, even off of a couple wins. So, scheduling is key for these teams down the stretch, and these coaches' decisions are huge. Working out right now for San Antonio.
Yeah, and the Spurs right now, by the way, are 1 game behind the 8th seed Grizzlies, who are, of course, 1-5 so far straight up in the bubble. Spurs are going to go to 5-2 if they hold on to this big lead. And the Phoenix Suns, the hell yes Phoenix Suns, of course, did come back yesterday, now 6-0, and they were down by double digits when we were doing the show. Teddy, you nailed that one. You said weeks ago that those teams on the bottom of the West would be the only ones playing hard, something to play for every game, and it's definitely turned out that for the most part. Do you see anything, Teddy, on this other game? It's a late fourth quarter, so probably not much to talk about here, but the Nets are up by 12 over the Magic. We touched on how well the Nets had played yesterday as well in the show, Teddy.
Yeah, Orlando sure looks like a fade right now. And then they may be for the final. They have 1 more game after this, I think, before the playoffs start. And, without Gordon and Fournier, that lineup cannot put the biscuit in the basket. I want no part of it. I think what I've learned from the bubble is that I want no part of Orlando. I'll be looking to fade the Magic before I look to back. Their defense isn't particularly good either.
And it's now official. The Magic and the Nets are locked in because the Wizards can't get within 4 games, I guess, to force a play-in or something. And the Nets are locked into the 7, the Magic are locked into the 8. So neither really has anything to play for here. But obviously, the Nets are playing harder right now than the Magic. You guys, let's look at some of the nighttime games. We actually have 5 of them here that have yet to tip off. So we got a large card here for Tuesday afternoon and evening. Of course, viewers, reminder, it is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Some $2 best bets available there. And then, of course, all of us have our best bets at WagerTalk.com as well. Tony, I'll start with you on this late afternoon game at 4:30 Eastern. Phoenix Suns, as I mentioned, a perfect 6-0, big comeback yesterday. Now a 9.5-point favorite over the Sixers. These are 2 teams we've had some fun with over the last week on the show. Obviously, this would have been the exact opposite line probably 2 weeks ago. And now, this would have been a reversal. You might have very well seen Philly as a 9-point favorite. Now they're a 9.5-point dog. Really remarkable. Tony, how do you handicap this one? Or do you?
Well, yeah, I think you do. I think you can. If you live in my orbit, I think you can. And Teddy said it. You just said it earlier, and that is regardless of where you're at, who you're playing, what you're playing for, depth matters. And this 76ers team, fans around here can argue with me all day that this team is good top to bottom. And I disagree. I think with the injuries they have today and the personnel that is not going to dress or be on that court, their depth doesn't stand up to Phoenix first rotation. Heck, I'm not certain they're better than Phoenix second rotation. And I think Phoenix they win by as many as they want to today. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, we did the show yesterday. Phoenix was down by 14 at the end of the first quarter as a 7.5-point favorite and ended up winning the game by 27 points. So they outscored Oklahoma City by 41 points the final 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So they're explosive when they want to be.
One of you guys tell me, how many points has Phoenix exceeded? I think I'm trying to go back. I don't have it in front of me. How many points have they scored? They've exceeded 110 points a game, haven't they, in this bubble every time? Have they scored less than that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you play, at a decent tempo, and you can put points up. Double-digit deficits aren't as daunting as when you're playing half-court basketball. Yeah, Rob, do you see anything in this late afternoon, early evening game between Phoenix and Philly? I know you're in the Pennsylvania area. What's your take on the Sixers here going forward?
Yeah, and just to answer Tony real quick, it's been 114 or more scored by the Phoenix Suns in every game so far in the bubble. So
how does the Sixers stay alive today? How do they stay with them? I don't know.
Yeah, by the way, this total has jumped, actually. That's gone from 223 to 226, even with a lot of guys sitting for Philly.
Well, that would make me believe that one of them might not be sitting, Steve.
Right.
And I'm not looking at direct right now. I had to go through the lineup this morning to see exactly what you would be faced with for the Philadelphia 76ers. If, in fact, Tobias Harris and Al Horford, who were listed as question marks, if they did not play. If they don't play, you're looking at Matisse Thybulle, Mike Scott, Norvell Pell, Alec Burks, Shake Milton, potential starting five with a bench of Glenn Robinson III, Forkin Korkmaz, and Kyle O'Quinn. Korkmaz might start. That's an 8-man rotation that I don't think I want any part of. Now, if the total's jumping and if Harris or Horford is going to play, then they have a little bit more scoring power. But they're not going to stop Phoenix. What Philly's had a lot of trouble with in this bubble defensively is quickness, and Phoenix is loaded with quickness. So they show no signs of letting up. It's a second of back-to-back. They may not have Aaron Baines, which does make a little bit of a difference, guys. He gives them good minutes behind Ayton. But I don't know how. I don't want to lay 9.5. I really don't. But I don't want the Philly side either, and I don't want to take a shot at over 226, even though Phoenix is probably headed for 120 by themselves. Question would be, Phoenix headed for 120. Can Philly get you 107? Maybe, but I'd need to know that another one of those scores is going to be in there for me.
Yeah, and of course, if you get a playground mentality, all these guys at this level can score if the defense isn't there. And you got a Phoenix on back-to-back, huge comeback yesterday. Teddy, I could definitely see some tired legs there. And by the way, the total was 223 early, went to 226 fast. Actually peaked at 227, even 27.5. Now back down to 226.5. So it really hasn't been a recent move. It was more of an early morning move. Teddy, you see anything with Suns Sixers?
Well, the info's out right now. Joel Embiid out, Ben Simmons out, Tobias Harris out, Al Horford out, Josh Richardson out. I'm not seeing questionables. I'm seeing out. So it is that lineup that you were talking about, Rob, which is most assuredly reflected in this point spread with Phoenix laying 10 on the second of back-to-backs. You can only play the Suns here. If you think I'm laying the 10 with Phoenix, you're crazy. On the second of back-to-backs. I'm not crazy, but it's not a bet that I'm likely to consider. And when we talk about the last, and this is no different if these games were played in April, okay, the last games 80, 81, 82, which is where we are in the schedule right now, they're minefields. You're lucky if you find one. There's a lot of games with a lot of uncertainty, and that's why I played the Spurs. I thought it was a strong play. There was nothing else on today's card that I was even close with, including this one.
Yeah, it's a good point, Teddy. This is like April normally in the NBA, the second week of April, which is a lot like handicapping, like NFL preseasons, like I keep saying. It's about reading who's going to play and motivation. And it's a little bit different now because we've had so many games the last couple of weeks with these teams that it's kind of been crammed in. But, yeah, this is exactly like the second week of April right now, and you have to tread lightly. Guys, we'll look at the next one here. We have another game on the early evening card, as we often do, a national TV game. Well, actually, we have a game at 5 Eastern. Before I get to the 6:30 Eastern game, I forgot we do have a 5 p.m. Eastern game. They're really cramming them in this evening. Boston Celtics, Memphis Grizzlies. Boston opened as high as 5.5, now down to 3.5 in most spots. Total on this one has crept up a couple points to 226.5. Tony, Celtics laying 3.5 against the Grizzlies. Any thoughts here?
Well, a week ago, I said on the show that there was some things that Boston were doing and that they weren't doing that made me not trust them, especially with the line that they have in the MO. They don't have a big, and I don't think they go very far in the playoffs simply because of that. And they're not defending, they're not getting stops in this situation. Is there any reason for Boston to go all out in this? In truth, really, I don't think there is. And it's a game that Memphis hasn't been very good from day one of this bubble. So this is one of those games when I looked at it first, I said, be Teddy Smart and pass on this.
Yeah, Rob, do you see anything in this early evening game here? Celtics slight favorite over the Grizzlies. And Memphis, by the way, as I mentioned earlier, Memphis came in as the 8th seed in the West, and despite going 1-5, they're still half a game up on the Blazers for the 8th seed, so they can't get out of their own way, and they still have the 8th seed as of now.
Yeah, and once again, guys, same quotes out of Ja Morant. I'm not worried about any play-in game. We're still trying to learn things. So it's a young basketball team. I think way back when, before the restart happened and we were doing some preview shows, I think everybody on the panel felt like Memphis was vulnerable. And, to lose that 8 spot outright, they were going to have to go 2-6, and New Orleans was going to have to go 6-2. Well, New Orleans didn't do the 6-2, but certainly Portland, San Antonio, and Phoenix are catching up, making up ground rapidly because Memphis right now is at 1-5. I feel like they'll play hard here. I think Boston might bring all the guys are going to play. I think that they'll bring the playground mentality to this one, though. I think there'll be somewhat of a let up on the defensive end, Steve. They played a really good defensive game 2 games ago against Toronto. I don't think Toronto scored more than 23 points in a quarter until the fourth quarter in that game against the Celtics. They were great defensively, and they were as good offensively, but they've been good offensively all the way through. They come back with the overtime game against Orlando. That one, I don't put as much consideration into. Yes, they held Orlando to just a bit over 40% shooting, but Orlando, as Teddy mentioned, without the pieces that they're missing, they're just not a good offensive team. The fact that they got dragged to overtime is probably a little more of a red flag than a green light. So I think Memphis can get theirs here. I think Boston has shown us that they're going to get theirs. I think that's the reason for the total jump. The opener was a great number. If you got it, even at 226.5, there might be enough room to still catch an over here with the Celtics and Memphis.
Yeah, as you said, Rob, it opened 224.5. It's now 226.5. There's definitely some early money on the over, no question about it. Teddy, do you agree with that move to the over? You see anything on the side here?
I don't have a strong feel for this total at all. Memphis certainly hasn't been an over team in the bubble. And Boston, Memphis, what did they cash? Four unders their last 5. They're not playing overs. And Boston, they went over in overtime last time. And of course, the Raptors game went over on the 3-pointer at the buzzer. And Brooklyn's game went over when they hung 149 on the Nets. So they've kind of gone over their last 3. But the quotes from Brad Stevens were much more about our transition defense is where we want it to be. Our defense overall is where we want it to be. And they have certainly, the effort's been there for the Celtics on the defensive end in every recent ballgame. From a side standpoint, Memphis has something to play for. Boston doesn't. That's also factored into this point spread pretty clearly. Yeah. It was a pass for me.
And by the way, you probably actually, Teddy, want to see them play hard today because their finale on Thursdays against the Wizards. So that's the game you're going to want to mail it in because that might very well.
You're winning tonight, dude. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Well, you're right, but that could be the game that decides the 8-0-08 against Tony Finn. What do you think?
I'm going to throw something in real quickly on this, and that is, again, Memphis scores almost 60% of their points, and in over 60 in many games this year in the paint. Boston has no big. If this panel's correct and they believe that Boston's going to be playground mentality or they're not playing for anything, then Memphis has the edge here. They have an edge. They have an edge offensively. So just saying.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of teams that aren't playing for much. And by the way, speaking of that 9-8 seed battle in the West, Kings and Pelicans are officially eliminated. So there's 4 teams that can get the 8 seed as of now. It's Memphis, Portland, Phoenix, San Antonio, as Rob kind of touched on. So that's really what it's come down to. Nothing to play for in the East, and really just 4 teams playing for anything right now in the West. And that's kind of the world we live in right now in the final week of the NBA restart regular season. Tony, I'll stay with you here on this next game, early evening game on TNT, national TV game at 6:30 Eastern. So I'm sure a lot of the viewers who are watching us live right now and then watch the replay on YouTube as well here, NBA tip-off, will be interested in this one. Portland Trailblazers, Dallas Mavericks. I saw Portland open as high as 5.5, now down to -3, 3.5 as well. Just like the last game we talked about, same line move, favor dropping. Dallas, 236.5, totals now 240. So we've definitely seen some money on the overs. This is very similar to the Celtics Grizzlies. Portland's dropped down a couple points and the over has risen. Any thoughts, Tony, on Blazers and Mavericks on TNT?
Well, we sure saw that the Mavericks depth matters. And while the depth on this Mavericks team isn't going to jump out and scream ESPN highlights to you, this is a well-coached team. I think it's a well-coached team. The Mavericks at 7th right now, I think, in the West, and I think they're one game out of the 6th seed or 1.5 games out of the 5th. Are they playing for that? Did they expect to win? I mean, honestly, guys, do you think they went into their last game sitting 80% of their offensive production and expect to win like they did? I don't think they did, but now where are they? What do they do? We know Portland's going to play hard. I stayed away from this game because for several reasons, because I've maxed out Portland. I've been right about them so many times that I'm certain to be wrong. If I start thinking too hard with them, I think they're where they want to be. They're going to play hard. We know that. My question's about Dallas.
And Rob, I believe this is being played at that same arena that was used for the first time yesterday. Do you know if that's correct? Which had the two games that we talked about.
Right now, the Nets game was, and this one is as well. There's 3 of them being played there today,
and both soared over yesterday. Correct? I think
yesterday we had 2 overs, but I think that Nets game probably has broken that, right, Steve? Did they stay under the
108.96 final?
Yeah, good.
They have 2-1 to the over in this new Advent Health Arena, which, like I say, is hosting 3 games today. You know, the Portland-Dallas matchup, guys, we very rarely talk about halves, first half, second half, but they've come out firing in first halves, both of these teams. I think the Blazers are 4-2 to the over in the first half. The Mavericks are 4-2 to the over in the first half. And if you just look at some of those halftime scores, they've been well up there in points scored with Dallas back in action with a full roster today. You probably see an offensive shootout from the get-go. I mean, that's the reason for the 6-point jump. Portland has shown no ability whatsoever, even with 2 big guys, to play any defense. They will get Hassan Whiteside back today, which helps a little bit more down low. Now they have 3 bigs, but Zach Collins and Nurkic not necessarily stopping anything at the rim. So Portland's MO is go out there. We've got a ton of offensive options now with Gary Trent Jr. adding to that and outscore people. And Dallas's MO is go out there and be the most efficient team in the NBA and offensively and outscore people. So it's just a matter of when it gets to 240, guys, that becomes rough. Although I think these two played a 133-125 game earlier this year. That makes 258. I mean, I couldn't bet under, but they make it difficult to bet over here. Sidewise, they're both, for me, bet-ons. I got lucky with Portland the other day, beating Philadelphia and their beat-up squad. I don't really have interest in the side here at all.
Yeah, I mean, combined, these 2 teams are now 9-3 to the over. So obviously they're pricing it accordingly in the bubble so far. Interesting about the first half line, the game total is around 240. First half, 118.5. Second half would be about 121.5. Obviously, in college basketball, we always see the second half much higher because of fouling and everything. But NBA, often you'll sometimes see the first half slightly higher. Teddy, any thoughts on that disparity there? While the first half is a little bit lower than the second half in this one, and do you see any value in this game overall?
From a point, so if it's a blowout game, if it's supposed to be when the point spread's higher, you'll oftentimes see the first half adjusted with the total a little bit higher. And the second half total a little bit lower. They expect the pace to slow in the fourth down of a blowout game. In a closer game, you don't know. It's not unusual to see the second half be 2, 3, 4 points higher than what we saw for a first half total. So it makes sense here with the point spread in a relatively tight range. When you talk about, I mean, in the bubble, these 2 teams have combined to scored 245 and allow 245.2. So it's been fast paced. It's been up tempo. I've not been impressed in the slightest with Portland's defense. Dallas has given up 50% shooting in each of the last 2 games. I wouldn't talk anyone out of playing a first half over in this one. Sidewise, you're laying a premium with the Blazers now, and I don't think the Blazers are a good enough team to lay a premium with. We saw that against Philly the other day. Where again, a very fortuitous cover if you had Portland in that ball game. But defensively, I'm not laying 3.5 with a team that's not getting stops.
Yeah, once again, that game's the TNT game at 6:30 Eastern tonight on Tuesday. Portland's been bet down from 5.5 to 3. Totals up from 236.5 to 240. First half is 118.5, and Rob said there might be some value there. Teddy said he would not disagree with that.
And if you look it up, guys, I don't have it in front of me, but Dallas has been an outstanding underdog this year, point spread wise. They've been great in the dog role. So, if you have no opinion and you just want to throw a few bucks on it, the Dallas as an underdog has been a good way to go.
Yeah, and they're 2-0 straight up in ATS. The last 2 games was a 5.5-point dog. They won them both outright. This is now their 3rd game in 4 nights, no rest included. So we'll see how that plays out. It's also the 3rd game in 4 nights for Portland, but they were off yesterday, so it's maybe a slight.
What you got, Teddy?
So I have Dallas 2-8 ATS as a short dog, a dog of 4.5 or less, and I've got them in 9-1 ATS, the dog of 5 or more. For what it's worth.
And the line opened 5.5. It is now 3.
Right.
Crossed right over that that difference, which is quite interesting.
Huge difference too. Huge difference. Good point, Teddy.
Yeah, that's good info. I'll tell you guys, before we get to these 2 nightcaps, let's go around real quick and see what we got going on today on Tuesday. It is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Rob Vino, you got anything strong going for Tuesday?
I am up with a pair of NBA plays, guys. Like you said, Steve, it's a 7-game card tonight. And while I did not press the percent button very, very high, both plays are rated 3% today. Still had 2 that I liked well enough to release and think that they're going to come home and cash tickets. So they're up and available right now at WagerTalk.com. And I'm going to have baseball once we conclude here. There was one I had my eye on. I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on now. So we'll have 3 plays in all and look to continue what's been a really good run.
Nice. And Teddy, I know you've been red hot. Is it 6-1 now in the NBA, I believe?
Yeah. It's a red hot's when you go like, I've had a good run. The goal is not to have a 6-1 run, is to have a run that's going to last for another month or longer. So we put the work in, we're ready. But I have nothing for sale this evening. I had the 1 play on San Antonio. Knock on wood, so far so good. I've got a free play up in MLB that I like. I like the Giants, the plus price against an Astros team that I don't trust in that range. But the next official selection will come tomorrow.
Nice. And once again, Teddy does have a free play with analysis at WagerTalk.com. So go there, get a free winner, and read some analysis to get his handicap in style as well. For baseball, you, of course, get great info here. Basketball, Teddy also just did First Pitch an hour ago with Andrew McGinnis at 2 p.m. Eastern. That, of course, is available afterwards every day on YouTube, as our show is as well. It's archived for you to watch at your leisure. Tony Finn, you got anything strong going for Tuesday at WagerTalk.com?
Red hot is red hot. Subjective and strong is subjective too. I have 2 plays, 1 NBA, 1 baseball, and I like them both. I'm not one that says I'm over the top giddy about a game, because I can always find something to negate a positive, or at least cool my jets on specific variables. But I really like the games. 1 NBA, and I'm like Teddy. I'm doing fairly well. I'm 6-2 in the bubble, and I'm on a 9-1 NBA run before and during the on my high roller plays. In baseball, I've been pretty steady, although I dumped a big play last night. So anytime I dump a big play, I dumped on Colorado, and who gives up double-digit runs. You have to come back a little humble, and they're best for me tonight.
Nice. And I also have a free play up, just like Teddy mentioned. I've got a free play up at WagerTalk.com as well in baseball. We won our free play last night. Also a 2-0 sweep on my baseball and basketball for the 2nd day in a row. Sunday and Monday, 2-0 sweep. So perfect 4-0 sweep for myself, Steve Merrill. And I've got baseball and basketball once again at WagerTalk.com. So red hot, maybe short term, but we all seem pretty hot right now. And it's better than being cold. And we're definitely in good current form. Let's put it that way, I guess. All of us here on the panel, both baseball and basketball, WagerTalk.com. And once again, tons of free plays up there as well. I know Teddy and I both have a baseball free play with analysis, WagerTalk.com. Let's look at some evening games here. And I'll start with you, Rob. What are your thoughts here on the 9 o'clock Eastern game between the Bucks and Wizards? I'm going to start with you, because both Tony and Teddy have a vested interest in the Wizards winning outright or not winning outright in this one. Bucks minus 6.5. Wouldn't it be something, as Teddy said, that the non 0-8 in-show wager between Teddy and Tony is won when the Wizards, the worst team in the bubble, beat the Bucks, who came in as the best team? Rob, do you think it might happen?
It might happen, simply because the most recent injury report showed that the Bucks were basically going to sit everybody here. We still don't know If you guys can update me within the last 45 minutes, I don't think we knew about Giannis. Yesterday, of course, missed, but today he's, questionable. We'll see if he sits alongside of Eric Bledsoe, DiVincenzo, Wesley Matthews, and Chris Middleton. I know Milwaukee's deep, but if Giannis sits, that's 5 guys right there. That leaves, not much for bench depth or anything here, roll out the balls type of deal. If the guys were going to play for Milwaukee, the starting unit, I was all set to play over the total. I thought for sure that off of the miserable offensive performance and the rugged defense that they faced in Toronto, facing the Swiss cheese Wizards defense and wanting to shoot the ball better, or at least having that bounce back theory of shooting the basketball better, Milwaukee could have gone for, 130 in my estimation with all their players. And Washington, the way Milwaukee's playing defense, Washington probably gets you to 105 around that area here. So I would have played over, but now I'm off the game entirely here. I can't root for anybody. I'm neutral like Switzerland here. If Teddy wins this thing, great. If Tony wins this thing, great. Love them both. So we'll see what they have to say.
Yeah, and Teddy, the Wizards are not only 0-6 straight up, but they're actually 1-5 ATS. And we'd mentioned that maybe they'd start covering some spreads, but they haven't done so the last 2 games. What are your thoughts on this one? I know you probably like them ATS. Do you think there's value there? And more importantly, do you think they can win outright?
So I can only take the Washington side of the equation here because, as you mentioned, Toronto's sitting there. Milwaukee is sitting there starting lineup on the second of back-to-backs off another lousy showing. And it was both ends of the floor for Milwaukee last night. When their shots don't fall, when the three-pointers don't fall for the Bucks, they look mediocre. When the three-pointers don't fall and you don't have Giannis and you don't play any defense, they look like Orlando. So maybe I've been burned. I've been burned by the Bucks, and I was burned by them yesterday, and I'm in no rush to get. But one of the things that I do as a capper, all right, I had the wrong read on this team yesterday. The last thing I'm going to do is go, all right, hey, let's go against them today,
right?
Because then you're, oh shit, I just got them on the wrong game, or now they're going to hit shots, and we know what Washington is at this stage. So normally, when I get a team wrong, when I have an opinion on their next game, I'm much more likely to sit it on the sidelines and say, well, let's see if my new opinion is right. But the lean here is Wizards.
Yeah, Teddy, that's an excellent point. I'm the same way when I'm handicapping. If I find a good situation and it doesn't play out the way I thought it should or would, buyer beware on the next time out until you see it come back into form. So, yeah.
And just real quick, and it played out so differently than I thought it was. My handicap in the game was wrong in 3 different areas. And one of it might have been Budenholzer doesn't want to give anything to. He doesn't even want to have anything on film against him, because the Bucks were not the Bucks last night. If they're the Bucks tonight, they can win whatever they want. But I don't think it's going to be the Bucks tonight either.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Something I meant to mention when we were talking about that Raptors-Bucks game yesterday, and I forgot to mention it here on the show, but those are the likely Eastern Conference Finals matchup. I did say that, but forgot to mention that they didn't make me want to show stuff. And we see that once again. I always use the NFL preseason as a reference a lot on the show here. But, you'll see teams playing the NFL preseason. They're going to meet early in the regular season in September, and they'll go vanilla and purposely not show anything they might use. So you do have to wonder if some of that was the case last night. And, yeah, Milwaukee's sitting there, guys, though, Tony. It's hard to imagine they care about this game. And once again, they do have one game on deck. Like I referenced with the Lakers earlier, if I'm the head coach, I put more inference into the game on Thursday against Memphis as I'm heading into the postseason, give my guys a few minutes maybe as the dress rehearsal game. Tony, Finn, what are your thoughts here? And do you have any concern that this might be the game that cost you your 0-for-8er Wizards in-show bet?
It's the only thing that matters in this game. It's the only thing. In fact, if the Bucks and the Wizards don't know and someone's listening, please tell them. It matters. It's
an important game.
This is in truth, I looked at this game and I said, I'm not touching the game because there's not $1 million that I could win on this game and lose the next one that would make the $1 million worth it again. It's beating Teddy that makes this game what it is. Can the Wizards win this game? Yeah. Did the Bucks? Wasn't that the highest total of the season? But didn't the Bucks score like 150 plus against the Wizards one time?
Yeah,
this year?
They did.
I think it was 150 something change. Obviously, that was the real Bucks, the Bucks that are playing. But I think they averaged. I think I read something where they averaged 143 points against the Wizards this year. But then I said, well, didn't the Wizards give up 143 points a game this year? What's the matter? I just rambled on.
It went to overtime.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just rambled on, but the bottom line is, this is big.
It's the biggest game of the bubble. The Bucks the Bucks second team against the Wizards, the biggest game in the bubble so far. And I think the viewers here of NBA Tip-Off would understand why. Once again, for anybody joining us that wasn't with us the other day, one of our in-show wagers that we're having a lot of fun with, Teddy said the Wizards would win a game. I think there's about 4 remaining. Maybe it was actually when they were playing the Sixers, Teddy. So that would have been on the 4th game of the 8.
You were supposed to win that game.
It was actually the only one they covered. So you're kind of on the right track there with them playing decent in that game.
Yeah, they covered by a hook.
Yeah, exactly. And they haven't covered
by the closer was 1.5. So yeah, they lost by 9. They were getting 10.5 at the end.
But I mean, I was with you. It was hard to imagine we weren't going to get some value at some point with the Wizards, and they've still yet to cover other than by the hook in that game. Yeah, this one looks like a sneaky spot. I would not be surprised at all. I'm not using this game tonight for my clients, but it'd be Wizards or pass for me as well here. I mean, the question comes down to are the Wizards semi-backups as well, since Beal and Wall and guys are out. Is the Wizards' current lineup better than the Bucks' second team? We're going to find out, I guess.
No, it's not. That's why Milwaukee's favored by 7 on the second back-to-back.
Good point. Yeah, according to the odds makers in the betting market, it's not. You're exactly right. It was as high as
not. If you watch, it's not. I mean, the Bucks are really deep. And the Wizards' starting unit is a bunch of guys that are D-leaguers.
Unbelievable that in the modern NBA, one of the teams that was invited to the bubble cannot beat a second tier lineup from another team, though. But that's how bad the Wizards are right now. Guys, one game left here. We got a few minutes left, so we'll get to it. We've got the Kings and the hell no Pelicans. As I mentioned earlier, the Pelicans are officially eliminated. Definitely been one of the biggest underachievers in the bubble. The Kings have been equally bad. They've gone 1-5. The Pelicans actually have gone 2-4. The Kings have been worse technically, but I don't think people were expecting too much from the Kings. I'd said all along they've been a pure overplay for me. I cashed it back against the Spurs on opening the second night of the bubble. I won again the other night with an over with the Kings. Rob Vino here, I'll start with you on this final game. New Orleans right now is a dog of about 2.5, 3 points against Sacramento. Totals around 235.5, open 230.5. So I guess the Kings and the over thing is not a surprise to anybody anymore.
No, it's not. Real quick, Steve, before I get to the analysis of this game, I just want to kind of bring up the counter to not wanting to show anybody anything on film in the NBA, because the NBA, more than any of these other leagues, is a get inside your head type of league. I mean, Miami and Indiana are going to be first round opponents in all likelihood. And I don't think Miami cared if they showed Indiana anything on the floor, on film, anywhere they could. The whole idea was to get inside TJ Warren's head, and look what happened last night. TJ Warren became afraid to take shots, or couldn't take shots, or froze and wouldn't take shots. Something happened there because Jimmy Butler, chirped a little bit, and it scared the team away. So I don't think that, in some instances, film, yes. In the NBA, though, it's more about, I've never seen teams with more sensitive psyche than as a unit than in the NBA. So interesting look at where that leads here. But in this game, guys, real quick, again, a lot of people sitting because the game does not matter. Right. And for the Pelicans, these teams played last week. The 3 Pelicans that are going to sit, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Drew Holiday, they combined for 65 of the 125 points they scored against the Kings last week. So that leaves 60 out there. But you take 65 points away from that offense. On the other side, no Holmes, no Fox, no Bazemore. That only accounted for 46, most of which were provided by De'Aaron Fox. However, I'm going to beat Teddy to the quotes here because I know he's chomping to get on some quotes. Harrison Barnes ripped this team a new a-hole yesterday when he just called them out and said there's no intensity, there's no sense of urgency, there's no consistent effort, and as a leader of the team, or a supposed leader of the team, he will take the blame for that, but that people basically need to step up, look in the mirror, and come to play every single game when there's something on the line if that team's going to be any good. I think one of his direct quotes was, if you don't come with the same energy every night in the NBA, you lose. And that's what Sacramento's done here. They've shown some flashes, but they have lost, and they found their way out of it. Steve, to the positive side for a lot of us, capitalizing on Kings totals because they wouldn't play any defense. They showed no effort there, but I don't know that this one gets to the place where it has to get to. Last week's did, 265 points, but today, right, I'm not so sure this thing gets over the total.
Yeah, and Teddy, it's pretty much the same total. I mean, that was priced at 234, I believe, and this one, it opened, as I said, 230.5. I think for some of the reasons Rob mentioned, with not the same lineup yet, it's now up to 235.5. Kings were a 4-point dog in that straight-up win by 15 points. This game opened around pick, and Teddy, now the Kings are about a 2.5-point favorite. Any thoughts on this one?
So what are you confident of in this game?
That they don't care?
Yeah, this is what I'm confident of in this game. I'm not making a bet on it. All right. I read the quote from J.J. Redick yesterday. If you missed it, it was I have it right here if you want it. But it was basically Alvin Gentry was like, it's game 7 right here. And the quote from Redick was, we didn't have any competitive spirit to start the game. We're flat. That's what it comes down to, which is a pretty strong bet against quote for a team that's sitting their key guys tonight, and Ingram and Zion and Holiday and all of that. I know I don't want any part of New Orleans. So you have, all right, yes, Harrison Barnes called out his team. And Harrison Barnes was someone that Sacramento looks to in the locker room. He's their leader. I don't know that the young guys like him. I really don't. I'm not convinced that there's any chemistry in Sacramento right now. I don't know anybody likes anybody in that locker room. And when you're without Fox and Bazemore and Holmes and et cetera, and you're a team, by the way, who when there was one game this year they played someone that didn't play them anyone, and they were double-digit favorites. When they're single-digit favorites, I got them a good 30% ATS. They're 7-15. They're not a team I want to lay points with. Easy pass for me.
Yeah, Tony Finn, as I said earlier, these two teams are the two in the West that are officially eliminated. They're the only two in the West right now still playing that have no chance of playing in the playoffs, and they still both have 2 games remaining. I'm sure they're looking forward to getting out of the bubble and back home. How do you handicap this one, Tony?
Well, I don't handicap it other than I know a couple things, as you guys know about this. I was surprised Teddy gave Bill's son a complete pass because he hasn't. I think it was you gave. I think you gave. Did you give Walton a pass? You gave somebody a pass when we talked about coaches last episode.
No, not Luke Walton. No. The problem with Luke Walton is they signed him to a 4-year contract.
Oh, yeah.
Only just finished the first year.
Yes. Now
they're stuck with him.
They're stuck.
But Luke Walton, he's worse than Gentry.
Yeah. I was going through my mind just now, and you're right. That is what you said. I apologize. You didn't give him a pass. This is a team that had some expectations. This is a team that averaged less than 110 points a game. This is a team that finished, I think, only averaging 40 or 41, 42 rebounds a game, and they're not going to be without and they lost Richard Holmes, and I don't think he plays tonight because of his hip.
He's out.
How the heck? I don't care who is playing for the Pelicans. Have some talent, albeit undisciplined and don't play defense. They have some good, talented players on this team outside of Zion, and if they play playground ball tonight, I think they beat Sacramento and beat them big. If they're losing,
here's what I'm confident of, Teddy.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll tell you what I'm confident of. The fact that Buddy Hield will turn his, demotion to the bench 4 months ago and his 10 minutes and 43 seconds in this game last week, with all the minuses from that roster tonight, he'll turn that into 35 shot attempts, probably 18 threes, and he probably doesn't like Harrison Barnes, and nobody likes Buddy Hield. So there probably won't be any response from this team to what Harrison Barnes said.
And let's not forget, what did Vlade Divac do? Who I would love to have run my organization. Not Vlade Divac paid Buddy Hield. So they can't trade him. Nobody wants his contract, and he's going to be stuck getting 11 minutes a game off the bench and being a bad attitude in Sacramento moving forward. That's who they chose to give their money to. So that's what Sacramento does. It's a very bad organization.
Yeah, it was kind of a shame we ended on that game because it's definitely as ugly as it gets right now. Two teams with nothing to play for, and they both have a game remaining, as I said, and you got to figure they're already packed up, ready to go out of the bubble. Guys, great show. As always, we'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, every Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here live on Wager Talk TV, Facebook Live, Periscope as well. Don't forget also, you can watch this play on replay on YouTube anytime. MLB First Pitch, NBA Tip-Off available every day, Monday through Friday, live at 2 and 3 Eastern, and then, of course, on replay as well. We will be back tomorrow live at 3 p.m. Eastern here on Wager Talk TV for more NBA action. And don't forget, finally, before we head out, $2 Tuesday, wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com, and also strong best bets from all of us on wagertalk.com. Go there right now, get some winners, also some free plays with analysis available as well. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, for more NBA tip-off on Wager Talk TV. Take care.
Where's Ski?